I
certainly
think,
not.
John, I don't want to be argumentative. It's early. The Birds won. This is a good day.
That's my fault. I'll take the
Defend
heat.
your team, Governor. I love it.
I mean, you're kind of making my point.
Governor, welcome to the show, man. How you doing this morning?
Yo, guys, I'm good. I'm good. John, you don't need to dress up for me. I didn't dress up for you.
It was a late night for us, Governor.
Well,
so
it was a late night for everybody, especially with that thunder delay or whatever.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. You know, one thing I want to ask you, because you're obviously the governor of Pennsylvania, so you're wearing pride, your Eagles colors, but you got to deal with the western part of the state as well. How do you handle that when you're talking? And John, the Steelers have some passionate fans as well.
Yeah, and by the way, they got 6 rings too. They're an amazing organization. But here's the thing: you cannot bullshit your way through sports. So I grew up an Eagles fan, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, everything. I'm very true to my sports love. I love going to a Steelers game, rooting for the Steelers. I think they're an iconic franchise, great ownership group, all that. But I would never root for them against the Birds. I want to see them be successful. And I mean, case in point, I worked my tail off to bring the NFL draft to Pittsburgh next spring, and we're excited about that. So I'm happy to support both franchises, but I'm a Birds fan.
They're an AFC team, Governor, so I can give you a little bit of
By the way, as you point out, Pennsylvania is spoiled. They have 2 great organizations, great success, so a little bit spoiled with the governor. Great governor of the state, and the football teams and the football organization.
Yep, no doubt. Governor, John tapped into you're the governor of Pennsylvania, obviously, and you're a leader of men and women and people all across the state. I want to ask you about Jalen Carter. As a leader, what do you make of that instance last night? Obviously, not a great way to start the year. What'd you make of the Jalen Carter incident last night?
Yeah, look, I mean, Jalen Carter is one of our top defensive players on that team. He needs to be better. I thought it was, let's put Dak Prescott aside. I got thoughts on that in a sec, but it was disrespectful to his team and his coaches that he basically took himself out of the game. It's just like a dumb play. You got to not only have your physical self ready, you got to have your mental self ready. And he wasn't. He hurt the team. And look, hopefully the NFL won't, sanction him and take away any more playing time. But listen, I do have to say, I mean, Dak did spit first, and I am sick and tired of the Cowboys getting all kinds of advantages, and the Eagles taking on the hits and not getting the advantages that frankly, the champs deserve. I mean, that play on the sideline where they knocked Jalen Hurts after he was already out of bounds, you do that to Dak Prescott, man, that's 15 yards. Dak spit first. It doesn't excuse Carter, but I just think there's a double standard there, and the Birds are constantly disrespected, and they don't deserve it. Again,
I'm going to push back on you, Governor. Here, this is one of my things. I think Eagles fans have grown up with that underdog mentality.
Yeah,
I always say it all the time. You saw it this week. I was inundated. I was inundated with stuff about the Eagles. Saquon Barkley's got an Amazon documentary coming out with Martin Scorsese as executive producer. He's named the #1 player in all of football by his peers. He's got C4 Energy. The Eagles have a sponsor for the Tush Push. They got sponsorships all over the place. The NFL, Governor Josh Shapiro, loves the Philadelphia Eagles. And part of the reason why is because the fan base is so passionate. The Cowboys, you're right. The Cowboys are the Cowboys. They're America's team. They have been. It's kind of weird.
America's team.
We're America's team. We can say that. But no team in this century has more primetime games than the Philadelphia Eagles, except the Dallas Cowboys. So while you're right, you can say it a little bit about Dallas. Philly's right there, behind.
Aren't you kind of making – look, Philly's earned that. Right. I mean, Saquon Barkley's earned those endorsements. The other players have earned those.
Certainly has.
I think, John, I don't want to be argumentative. It's early. The Birds won. This is a good day.
That's my fault. I'll take
defend your team, Governor. I love it.
I mean, you're kind of making my point. What did you say? The Birds have more night games,
more primetime games
than primetime games than any other team, except for maybe equal to the Cowboys. What the hell are you putting the Cowboys on at night for these guys. Haven't won anything. What's it been, 30 years or something since
Well,
they
now
broke?
that I think there's certain, I think there's certain teams.
I just think
New York Yankees,
I
Dallas
think
Cowboys, unfortunately.
we are forced to work harder, to overcome more obstacles, to get fewer calls than some others. By the way, it's not just the Cowboys. You go touch Patrick Mahomes after his foot is on the white line on the sidelines. It's 15 yards, man. So I just think these are things that give me and other Birds fans a little chip on our shoulder. I think that chip on our shoulder is healthy. I think that's what motivates us. That's what drives us. And that's what's going to put us in the hunt again this year.
Underdog mentality. All right, let's talk about with Jalen Hurts. I said this when I started the show, Governor. At some point, you look at I don't look at the numbers anymore because people get enamored with statistics and they say, well, the passing yards aren't high enough. But all they do is win. And they shouldn't.
Right.
They shouldn't be able to win the way they win, but they win. And at some point, Denny Green, the great ex-NFL coach, once told me, and it always stuck with me, winning is a habit. Losing is a habit. And the Eagles have created this habit. It might look different from week to week. And Jalen talks about this all the time. Hey, whatever you have to do to get to that finish line.
Yeah.
As somebody in politics, which is a very rough and tumble business, so to speak, winning matters at times. And they find a way to do it.
They do. I think Jalen Hurts is an extraordinary athlete, not just because of his unique abilities. And we saw them last night, the way he rushed for a couple touchdowns. And, I would like to see him hit Smitty and Brown a little bit more, but obviously first game, they'll work that out. But I think what makes him so extraordinary as an athlete is he does what he needs to do to win. And he's got the killer mentality. I think it's interesting. One of his mentors, is Michael Jordan. And to me, Michael Jordan, in my lifetime was the GOAT, no question. And I think what made Michael Jordan great was not just that he could score 40 plus points a night and play over 40 minutes a night, but he knew what he needed to do each night to kill you. And he also knew what he needed to get out of his teammates in order to win that game. And I think what Jalen Hurts has shown is an ability to be mentally tough, along with obviously physically tough, and get what he needs out of his teammates and out of himself on a given night to be able to win. I'll share a quick story with you that sort of sums it up. After the parade, and I was privileged to be able to, be on one of those buses going down Broad Street and supporting the Eagles. And by the way, trying to avoid the beer cans that were flying.
Yeah, they were flying.
Yeah, Howie wouldn't.
Howie took one. Yeah.
When we got to the back of the art museum and the players were getting assembled to go out there, and again, I was just privileged to be there with them as the governor of this great Commonwealth. I saw Jalen Hurts sitting by himself. Obviously, not because he didn't have friends or didn't have people that wanted to talk to him. He was sitting by himself. I went over to talk to him. He invited me over to chat with him, and he was focused mentally on certain things that he wanted to be ready for, that he wanted to be prepared for, that he wanted to think about. He was already thinking about the next one. That is what distinguishes a really good athlete from a great athlete. A winner like Jalen Hurts from someone who's got a lot of skills, but doesn't know how to win the big game. So, I've actually been offended that they haven't had Jalen Hurts on the top, whatever, those top lists where they keep other quarterbacks on there. This guy's got the mental toughness to be able to win. He stays focused all year round. He's hungry to win. He's got that MJ, killer instinct. And I just love it. And I think he's just pure Philly. He just wants to win.
It's the it factor, Governor. He has it, no doubt about it. Governor, as you just mentioned, we're coming off a year where we paraded down Broad Street. The first iteration of the 2025 Eagles was last night. Just a macro. What'd you think of the game? What'd you think of the team's performance in the game? And do you feel like this team has a chance to go and have another parade down Broad Street this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no question how he's put him in a position to win. He's got the players out there. They know what they need to do. We lost some big pieces from last year. I think that's real. Look, I didn't love our situation at cornerback. We got to figure out that second cornerback. I think we also got to figure out how to get A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and even Goddard the ball more. I think Goddard got the first play, if I remember, and then didn't sort of get a ton more after that. Saquon on the stat sheet only had, I think it was like 60 some yards, but look, that guy's best in the NFL. No question. Not worried about
he ran hard too. That's what I liked about the yards.
He
ran hard.
He did.
And I thought it was effective for the most part. Not splashy, but effective.
I thought so too. But I mean, look, CeeDee Lamb's a good, really good receiver, but not the best we're going to face. You got to be able to shut that down. And so I'm a little worried about cornerback and look, Howie coaching staff, they'll figure it out. So I'm not panicked at all. They did what they had to do. I also thought coming off that, it ended up being damn near an hour.
Hour and 4 minutes, a little bit over. Yeah.
I thought the defense just did a hell of a job after that, just kind of locking them down and, in kind of sloppy situation late at night. I just thought they did a really nice job. And this was really the first time they all played together for 4 quarters. And I like what I saw.
Yeah. Last one from me, Governor, and I appreciate you joining.
I can do this all day, guys. It's enjoyable.
So we appreciate
it. You got bigger things to deal with, but as a leader, there's something to that. So you look at somebody like Nick Sirianni from somebody in your position.
Mm-hmm.
What about him resonates to you as a leader of people and being able to be so successful?
People ask me a lot, hey, who's your political mentor? Who's the one politician you try to emulate? I don't have somebody like that. What I do and what I've done throughout my life is to look at people in leadership positions outside of government, outside of politics, and learn something from them. By the way, sometimes learn things not to do, and then other times you learn things to do. So I study Nick Sirianni. I watch the way he coaches. By the way, Coach Tomlin as well on the Steelers, who's a terrific coach. One of the things that I admire about Nick Sirianni is his ability to help every player on that team understand that they have to be individually great, but part of a collective greatness. He would maybe describe it a little bit differently, and he describes things in his own unique way, but helping each player understand that they're just one piece of the puzzle, and the beauty, the magic of winning a game and ultimately winning the Super Bowl requires each player to be great at the thing that they are supposed to be doing night in, night out. And I admire that. And when I think about my work as governor, I think about my entire staff, my cabinet, the people I work with as a team. I mean, I can be great, but if I don't have a team behind me being great, we're not going to be able to deliver for the good people of Pennsylvania. By the way, similarly, if I have an off day, but my team is doing great, my staff's doing great, we're not going to be able to be successful. Each of us has a role to play. I'm a basketball guy, big hoops guy, so I think about it as the 5 players on the floor. Every single person has their role to play in order to score a basket, in order to win the game. And so I think what I admire most about Nick is his ability to max out these players and help them understand they're part of a greater good and a greater effort. And that's hard to do with professional athletes who are getting paid, gazillions of dollars and have their own, to your point before, John, about their own endorsement deals, their own things going on. So that's what I admire most about Sirianni. I think he's a hell of a coach that way.
Yeah, it's inscribed on the ring. You can't be great without the greatness of others. That's what Nick is.
He preaches
that made the ring. That made the championship ring.
Now, I didn't fully understand. That was a few years ago when he did the whole, and you got to plant the stuff. To
everybody.
I was like, what
you know what?
are you talking about?
But you know what, Governor? That went over like gangbusters with the players. And the reporters, and I'm one of them, we were all looking at Nick like, what are you doing, dude? And that went, and I talked to Kelsey about it. That went over like gangbusters with the players. So it is interesting to see how it proceeds.
I think it's interesting. Sorry, John, I mean to cut you off. I think you mentioned Kelsey. It also made me think of BG. And, some of these veterans who were part of that culture, who are no longer on the team, how Nick is going to be able to do that with some of the younger guys, right? How he's going to be able to use, obviously Jalen Hurts is the leader, but how he's going to do that, having now lost a couple of those key guys who were part of that cultural fabric. And I'm sure he'll figure it out. There's not a criticism at all. It's just an opportunity now for other guys to step up and be able to be those culture warriors that we need on the Birds.
No doubt, going to be a big thing. Governor, I want you to address something. I always say this. I grew up in the city of Montgomery County. I've lived here my entire life. I assume I will live here my entire life. I always tell people, this city is different when the Philadelphia Eagles win football games. I can't describe it, but it's a different place when the Eagles win football games. Just kind of speak from your perspective on how much the Eagles actually mean to this city. I really think it's unlike any other sports city in the country.
I do too, Zander. And I think you're touching on a deeper issue. And I want to be clear. I don't want to be political at all. Thankfully, we're not talking about that. But I do just want to make one point that I think, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever, you're going to agree with this point. We live in really divided times where a lot of times people aren't even speaking the same language. And when you're not speaking the same language, you're not able to communicate and find common ground. I don't mean literally the same language. I just mean given how divided our community is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do I say that? Because I think there's still a few things in life that allow us to speak a universal language. And sports is one of them. You think about that Birds game last night. You think about people sitting in the stands. Folks are sitting there next to someone that might have voted different than them, think different than them, believe different things than them. But you know what? They're out there in their Eagles green. They're cheering on their team. They're having a beer. They're leaning over, talking to the person next to them. And they find commonality. They find that common ground that brings a joy in people's lives. And part of the reason why I love sports so much, always have since I was a little boy, still try and play. I'm slow as hell now, so I'm not as good as I was. But it allows you to be in a room with someone you might disagree with on something else. It allows you to be in a conversation with someone who you wouldn't have common ground with. And so when you say to me, Zander, the city just feels better when the Birds win, I'd argue the Phils now too.
Yeah,
right? They just feel better when these teams win. I think that's real. I really, really do. I think that there's a feeling of pride. There's a way in which sports gives us that universal language and allows us to come together. And I feel that. I really, really do. It is a real thing, and it's something that we shouldn't overlook. I think it is an important part of the fabric of our communities.
Yeah, I think it's very real community. It's just, bringing people together. It is one of the few things. I think that's a very valid statement. One of the few things, because you're right. It's kind of sad at times when people can't even have discussions about certain topics, but sports brings them together. If there's some way you can get the Sixers on the right track, I'd appreciate that.
I didn't want to bring that. You said you're a baskbaskall guy. I'm like, please. I don't want to.
It's so, guys, it is so upsetting. I mean, and listen, I'm a guy, I'm 52, and I lived through a lot of lean years with our Philly sports. And so to be able to have our kids now experience the greatness, the consistent greatness of the Phillies and the Eagles, but then to still see the Sixers struggling, it really hurts. I mean, I'm on the one hand, I'm excited. We got a really young backcourt. I mean, really young and dynamic backcourt. But on the other hand, I mean, PG's sitting out there at 30, what is he, 37, 38. And clearly, as my kids would say, is washed. And then, what's going to happen with Joel? I mean, he is arguably the greatest talent in the NBA right now. I mean, truly just the greatest talent. I hope he's healthy enough to be out there on the court. You match him up with this backcourt, man, the Sixers could be dangerous. Really dangerous.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. Governor, I want to thank you for your time today. There's one thing I got to leave you with, and it's more personal, all right, because I love cars, Governor. It's one of the things I love to do when I'm not talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. And the new Pennsylvania license plates are absolutely beautiful. So I just wanted to thank you for that because
We worked hard on that.
Yeah, they're beautiful, man. I love them. I think they're really cool. So I just wanted to thank you personally for that. And thank you again for the time you've given us today, Governor. It was awesome having you. We appreciate you doing it, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, guys, thank you. And listen, I mean, John, you touched on this, or Zander, you touched on this before about just how a city feels when their teams are playing well. You guys are an important part of that culture because you give us the ability to congregate after a game and talk about it and share our feelings. So I love your show. Love what you guys do. Appreciate what you guys do. And it's important to our community. And thanks for having me on, and go Birds.